Today. So what's up, guys? So today we just dig deep into it. Now, why was there a need for us to be created? Mbona tulikam? Why was there a need for a so specific being to exist there? Mbona yani ilibidi si tukam kwa hii space? Like that was so specific. I mean, why do we have two arms? Why do we have one head? Why do we have two legs? Why do we have a stomach? Like, I mean, mbona ilikuwa that specific? Yani, mbona ni laptop si simu? Why is it a white coat, not a black coat? Okay? Now, I know we haven't asked these questions, but either way, there is how we've been cultured kufikiria we are the perfect beings. Because let me ask you something. If you went somewhere and you found a very big or tall person who is like 5 times your size, do you know what you'll call them? You'll call them giants. If you find someone who's too tiny ama mdogo sana, you'll call them a dwarf. What if them are the perfect form na sisi is your perfect form? So I mean, there must be that question here. Mbona ni sisi? Why are we so that perfect? Now, one of the main reason I went with the creation story ni kwa sababu all the other theories do not explain the why part. They do not explain why we had to be there. Now, notice I'm not discussing about the purpose. I'm discussing about the gap. What gap did we come to fill? Why was there a need for us to go there? Not what we are going to do, but why was there a need for us to go there? Okay? Now, for instance, evolution inasema tuliamka from one monkey to the other. I mean, really? Mbona monkeys zingine haziamkagi? You know, the Big Bang theory, it explains that we just appeared. I mean, kuapia kufanya nini? Why? Mbona waliapia? So, it does not explain the why part, really. Because I mean, hata hiyo ya kuapia, mbona watu wengine sahi hawapiagi? Because we all know that anyone who is here may come by only one way, being born of a woman. Okay? Now, one of the main reason ya mbona mimi niligona the creation story kwa sababu creation inaelezea the why part. And I'm going to summarize it before we can dig deep into the details. Now, this is what happened. So God creates heavens and earth. And initially, the earth is without anyone. Earth tu iko peke yake. Then, wakiwa uko juu, one of the beings who is the subject of his creation becomes greedy and wants to overrule. Unaona, anataka ku take over. So God anamfanyaje? Of course wewe umeshaanza kuwa greedy, umekuwa disobedient and stuff. So hatuwezi kaa under the same roof. So because initially kuna only 2 locations, heaven and earth, God anamshoniaje kwa sababu hatuwezi kaa hapa na wewe. Wewe fanyaje? Wewe shuka. Now, it wasn't God's initial plan for that guy to come here. It is only because he disobeyed that is when he came here. And today I'll be answering 2 questions. Yeah, why we came here. 2, why God aliweka ile matunda ya katikati. Because hiyo swali tunajiulizaga sana. Kama God anatupenda sana, mbona aliweka hapo katikati? So of course, msee anashuka huku hivi chini kabla God ajue rada ni gani. So in the meantime, because hatuwezi kaa pamoja na wewe hapa, wewe teremka tu. Then way later something happens, which I'll explain later what happens. God anasema we need to create someone who looks exactly like us to be there, because I did not create that place for that guy. Now that guy is shetani mwenye tunaongelelea. But then God was like, we need to create someone who looks like us, and tunafaa tumtume huko hivyo a represent, a take dominion, na ikiwezekana asuppress huo msee kwa sababu sitaki huo msee akae huko hivyo nikani kwake. Hapa hivi kuna wasee nilikuwa nimecreate. Then this is what happens. Akatuleta sisi. So at this point unaona ukimalizia hii episode hapo uko sawa. But then again you'll be missing on the details. So let's go on the details. Now Genesis 1:1, which I'm going to read. It says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Here to me discuss. But then again, I want you to notice the disconnect that happens between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Now, let me ask you something. Do you believe God is a God of confusion kweli? I mean, he himself says, I am a God of order. Yeye mwenyewe anasema. So I don't believe ameumba verse 1 a very perfect heaven and a very perfect earth. Then in the second verse, this earth is without form and it is void. And then spirit yake inapiga raundi mwenda huko. I mean, I can only imagine what basi heaven looks like. Kama hii ndio earth, kama earth inakaa hivi, basi heaven inakaa aje? Heaven imechanganikiwa mbaya. Kwa sababu I mean that's where he dwells. So kama hii ni AOB project inakaa hivi na huko maju kuna kaa aje? Si basi yuko hata ni kunoma zaidi. Now this means something might have happened between verse 1, kwa sababu verse 1 after tu amemaliza kuumba earth there is a full stop, so that means perfection. Nimeumba kila kitu and I am done. And then again, you cannot have a disadvantage where there wasn't an advantage. You cannot have a con where there wasn't a pro. You cannot have a reaction where there wasn't an action. So that means for you to notice that something is without form and it is void, that means it had form. It means that it wasn't void before. Something had filled it. So of course, something happens between verse 1 and verse 2. And now that which happens, it is in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, which I am going to read. Okay? Pia nyi mtasoma, tutasoma na nyinyi wote. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. But they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now notice, wamefight, umsi ameshindwa, and then what happens? Of course, shuka bana. Atwezi, umesikia venye imesema, a place was not found for them in heaven any longer. Of course, awezi ka hapa, atwezi endelea kukupatia the same glory you had before. So what you need to do, bro yangu, the shaja yo Austin Muigai, shuka bana, enda down. So akashuka. So in the meantime, turuke 2 verse 10 na verse 11, kwa sababu this is a whole another topic yenye tukidiscuss hii tutakaa sana hapa. So let's go to 12. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. So unaona after 2 nani ameshuka. Sasa huko walibaki kitu hapa tu, sherehe, walipiga sherehe mbaya. So kwa sababu mse ameshuka, one of the main reason walipiga sherehe ni kwa sababu umse alikuwa snitch, alikuwa na wasema sana. So of course snitch akienda mnabaki mkipiga sherehe. But then again, there is a very risky sentence they make. Wanasema woe to the inhabitants of the earth. That woe inamaanisha hivi, nyinyi wenye mnakujiwa walai mutaona noma. Now woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. Now after shetani amefukuzwa, of course hakuna mtu anafurahiaga kufukuzwa. Umse amechujwa, and then anakam akiwa amejaa ngori mbaya sana. And then who does he find here? Now those are the inhabitants wenye wanatajwa hapa. So at this point, no man has been created yet. We are not here yet. So anakuja tu anapata zile vitu God amecreate. It is the earth in perfect form. And the inhabitants, we could say ni wanyama, the animals, the trees, the plants, and all that, you know. Then amejagas, amekula ngori aje. Now let's discuss a little while. Kama is there any recording is inhabitants ziliona noma? Now hiyo inhabitants tutaipata Romans 8 verse 19. And let me read. For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. Unaona unaona the creation. Now what God had created initially in verse 1. Hakuna watu wanatungojaga. Hakuna watu walikuwa mengoja tuumbwe kama hizo vitu. Unaona, it is very safe kusema Satan was the firstborn in earth. Aliona wa kwanza. But then again after aliona kuna mavitu alikama kadu. So anyone mwenye alikutoa hapa na hiyo wrath, juu alikuja pia na angels wake, the fallen angels, zilikutaa wase, as in zilikam, kila kitu ikaanza kukua in shambles. And you know what the creation says ni ati hakuna watu wanangoja the revealing of sons of God kama hizo vitu zilipatwa. Now that means kama lion ilipatwa huku vitu ikiwa at peace, ilikam ikakorruptiwa, ilikuwa tu inaishi na mtu vizuri, ikaanza kuuma mtu. Ilikuwa tu pengine inaishi na antelope fine, ikaanza kuuma antelope kwa sababu imeletewa confusion, a lot of confusion. Umbu ilikuwa tu inakulaga nectar yake safi, kidogo kidogo inaanza kupenda nyama, imeanza sasa kukua carnivorous. Aje. Okay? Now, let's continue. Then, for the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly. Now, let me explain what that means. Unakumbuka shetani amefukuzwa na amechujwa. Creation bila umse ilikuwa tu sawa. But then again, after umse ameshuka, kuna some level of corruption imekuwa subjected to. Si ati ilikuwa inataka. But then again, there is a guy amekaa hapa hivi na amejaa ngori mbaya sana. So the creation was subjected to this futility, not willingly. But then again, God makes a very risky statement, and he says, but because of him who subjected it in hope. Now, what does this hope represent? This hope represents us. So, of course, najua yenyewe kwa sahi mtaona noma. Kuna mtu nimeshukisha na amejam. Najua sahi mtaona noma, but worry not. You know why? Kwa sababu kuna wase na leta wenye watawachunga. So msijali, najua sahi nimeweka kwa noma, kuna mse nimewatumia na mko mnamtaka, but either way msijali kwa sababu kuna wase na msijali, I got you, niliwaumba, so I know nakacheza, najua venye nakaplay. Unaniget? Now turuke 21 kwa sababu 21 inaongelelea more of Jesus, but either way let me read it. Because the creation itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. Now, hii 21 sana sana inaongelelea, unaona way later after sasa God, after Yesu akikam the second coming, kuna vitu watakam kurestore, kila kitu itakuwa sawa, and those who are obedient to him will be raised up and everything will go back to normalcy. So this I will not explain sahi, to explain way later. So let me explain 22. This is what it says. For we know that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pangs together until now. Now, do you know what that means? Well, now, all the creation, it groans and labors with birth pangs. Now, this is what birth pangs means. Unaona, if a woman is supposed to give birth, na afike age flani hana mtoi, ndio maana unaonaga kuna mama akifika age flani pressure inaanza kumpiga kama Sara ama Hana, kwa sababu at this age I should have a kid. So there are birth pangs zenye zinaniwasha kwa sababu it is normal to me to have a kid, you know, I should not be barren. Kuna cycle nafaa ni follow. Now the creation initially was supposed to have that, ilifaa kukuwa na hiyo cycle ya kujireproduce. So assuming maybe an example of a what? An example of a maize. So ulifaa uende uchukuage mahindi, unaacha maize kwamba hapo, alafu way later unaipatia maybe a few time, hauhitaji kuinterfere. So what birth pangs is supposed to mean is there is a cycle that I should have automatically without external factors coming into the play. nafaa ni produce naturally, kwa sababu that is what I was created to do. Sijui kwa tunaelewana. I need you guys to get this. Sasa venye shetani alikam, alibreak hiyo cycle. So wewe utakuwa una produce anymore and mpaka msee akuja kupalilie. Wewe utakuwa una produce anymore mpaka msee akuja weke seed. Wewe utakuwa una produce anymore. So there is birth pangs zenye zilikuwa distorted along the way. So a cycle that should have been very perfect ikakuwa distorted. And now we came at play, mali lazima tulimie ndio tuone and stuff. Now that wasn't the case. And then so ina grown daily. And then ukumbuke tulisoma 19. Hakuna watu wanangoja. Hakuna watu walikuwa wanangoja. Na still wanangoja mpaka saa hii. The revealing of sons of God. Now let's come to Genesis. Let's go back now to Genesis and explain a few things. Sasa unaona hiyo kitu yote yenye ulisoma Sunday school. Hiyo kitu weka huko mbali. Unaona hiyo theology unafikiria uliisoma. Hiyo stuff weka na huko. Yani itupililie na huko mbali. Nataka tu ni distort theology yako for a bit. Okay? Now, in Genesis, unaona hiyo theology yote uliwaisoma Sunday school. Ya Genesis or creation, waliumba vitu 8, vitu 7, vitu 10. Hebu unaona for a minute. Hiyo theology yako tupa huko, weka huko mbali. Now, let's be very factual about this. Okay? Now, Genesis chapter 1, God creates only two things. Two things peke yake. Na moja ni yenye tumesoma, in the beginning God created heavens and the earth. Now that is one. Then God begins restoration. And I want to give a very practical example na hii stuff. Now assuming tutumie tu heavenly language, assuming wewe ni bachelor and then umehamia kwa nyumba poa sana, and the reason umehama ni kwa sababu mnataka maybe kucohabitate na mtu wako, manzi yako, because mnataka of course kuoana. And now let us assume that house you have created it. Okay? Na sasa hii nyumba umeenda kila kitu umeweka in perfect place. Umeweka kila kitu poa. Coincidentally, manzi mnawaka na in the same place. So ukienda job na pia mumeenda job pamoja, mko sanie kwa job. Na ajam nini mpaka feel I can't continue kwa job na feel niko mbaya, let me just go home. Now akona only two locations ya kuenda. She can either remain in the workplace pamoja na wewe and uendelee kumsinya, ama anaweza enda home ana any other place. Akifika home kwa sababu akona frustration, afike home aanze kutoanisha vitu one by one. TV aweke kwa washroom, vitu za washroom aweke kitchen, vitu za kitchen aweke kwa bedroom, vitu za bedroom aweke kwa balcony, kila kitu. Kila kitu iko in shambles. Now, ukikam jioni, msisahau heavenly language. So ukikam jioni, kwanza utakaa chini, urecollect your thoughts. It's like now your conscience is trying to understand what happened. Ni nini kumeendelea, like kwani hiyo makosa ilikuwa kubwa hivyo sana. Like kwanza relax. Now, tusisahau heavenly language guys. Assuming kwa hii point uko na power, do you know what you will do? First of all, utasema let the TV go back to the living room. And then utaangalia living room utakozeleza, yeah, it is good. Then vitu ziko kwa washroom, pengine zilikuwa za kitchen, you will say let all the utensils go back to the kitchen. And then you look at the kitchen and you'll be like, it is okay. Then vitu zilikuwa kwa neighbor utazitoa huko uweke. As in utaanza tu kusema let there be. And you look at all the things and you'll be like, wow, it's in perfect form. Hiyo nika ilikuwa hapo mbeleni. Perfect. Now, similarly, it is what God is doing from verse 3 all the way to verse 24. And tulikuwa tumesoma mbeleni tukasema, the earth was without form and was void, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the deep. What that means ni ati conscience ya God kwanza ilikuwa inajaribu kuunderstand what happened here. I think hiki tu niliacha kama nimeumba in perfect form. So what happened here? I mean, I left a very nice place. Now, ile kitu anaanza kufanya kwa verse 3, God begins to restore things to order. And he begins by saying, then God said, let there be light, and there was light. So, ile kitu God alianza kudu is not creation, it is restoration. how it was. Of course, we might not know how it was before, but what he is doing is restoration. Let there be, let there be, let there be, let there be. And you know, the first thing God does, restores, is light. You know, as the Bible depicts, Shetani in darkness, and darkness and light cannot coexist in one place. So what that means ni ati moja ikiingia lazima ingine itoke. And you know, this light being presented here, tuta discuss in another episode. This light is not just a normal light. This light is Jesus. Tuta discuss baadaye, because way later there is an artificial light which comes on board, which is the sun and the moon, but there is just natural light which has to do away with darkness. And then he calls the light day, and all the way to verse 24. Now, what is the second thing? Where do we come in? Sisi tunaingilia wapi? This is what happens. So God amekama amerestore. Kuna umse wa kwanza alikama alifanya ufala, of course. Unaona kama wenye tunatumia language ni mtoi, ni kama alituma kitoi huko chini. So amekama ametoanisha kila kitu amefanya. So God amekama amerudisha earth vile inafaa kukaa, in perfect form. And then akozile za, in my mind, it was not even my initial plan for you to come here. And you come here, umekama umedistort kila kitu. Then I have come and restored. Yo, I can't leave you with the same earth na bado uko na ile wrath. So what do I do? So he creates the second thing. Now, what is that second thing which he creates? So the second thing that God creates is in chapter 1 verse 26. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. I want you to take note of let them. This was not one man. Let them have dominion. Sasa nataka you understand, and wacha tu ni create suspense for the next episode. I want you to notice there is a difference between a man and a human. Oh my God, hizi vitu mutashika, mpende msipende, mutaelewa mbona binadamu alikuja duniani. Now, the man being created here by God, amemuumba kwa sababu I need you to take over everything that I have created here. I can't leave these things with this guy. Umse already ashanionyesha ile kitu anaweza fanya. So ile kitu anaweza fanya ni anaweza haribu hii place. Na hii place bana, siku waste time yangu kuomba hii place. So what do I need to do? Let me create a representation of me. Someone who looks exactly like me, who bears my image, bears my likeness, bears my appearance, akae huko. Na akikaa huko, let him take dominion. And they are them. So it was not a one-man show. They were several. Kula pause. Now, I want you to imagine venye hizi vitu zilikuwa zimetungoja, and I want to give a very practical example ya venye hizi vitu zilikuwa zimetungoja. One is by how sasa from man tukakuja human, hiyo tuta discuss in the next episode. Tukakuja human and and other things, okay? Now, I want you to imagine venye hizi vitu zilikuwa, unakumbuka tulisoma Romans, hakuna creation ilikuwa imetungoja kama hizo inhabitants zilikuwa huku initially venye zilikuwa zimetungoja mbaya. So after we've been created, they are so happy, and then we shift from there, then we go to the human So ebu imagine venye Adam alipatiwa command ya name all these animals. Can you, if you have a cinematic brain, you can already guess venye hizi vitu zilikuwa happy. Like kuna mnyama huko hajapewa jina akazileza, yo wacha tuende tukapewa jina na Adam and stuff, and these things were so happy. And then tumekuja lose touch all along. I mean, can you picture this? Time ya Noah hizi vitu zilijileta aje? Walikaa kwa hiyo ark 1 year, full year. Hakuna yenye iliuma ingine, hakuna yenye ilifight ingine, and they were there, people and animals. So all along tumekamugi tukilose touch. But initially these things celebrated so much for our arrival. They were so happy that we came on board. All along kuna vitu tulifanya which tuta discuss later. Ni nini ilikam Why are we losing touch and what and what? All right, now for the simple reason of why we came here, it is only that tulikam hapa kwa sababu God needed a representation of his own image, his own likeness and appearance to be here, kwa sababu initially that was the plan. Of course kuna msee ameletwa mwenye ni alien mwenye hatutaki, but I mean alikam ndio tuchukue dominion, ametuweka hapa ndio tuchukue dominion, and that is the one reason why we were brought here. That's not the purpose though. Bado hatujafika kwa purpose. Kwa purpose tutafika tu. And manze, it's been amazing explaining this, and I hope to see you on the next Hour of War, guys. Peace out.